Well, yeah. Then things break easier too, and
Yes.
what I noticed is it takes you longer to heal.
Yes.
One of the reasons I ended up stopping fighting was I got an injury at work to my wrist, and it just was not healing. I was 50 years old. It just wasn't healing. So, that was just one of the reasons. Right, it's time to give this up. It's all healed now, but it took months.
That's gonna be me.
And you can't sort of risk putting on a theatrical performance,
and falling
where I might let go of the sword for the crowd.
Oof.
And I used to do sharp cutting, because I got a heap of sharp swords. So I used to do displays on
cutting what, melon, fruit, things of that nature.
Yeah, milk bottles full of water.
Milk bottles. Okay. The easy stuff like that doesn't have resistance to it.
And it doesn't scratch up your blade, which is a big thing. That's why I used to use milk bottles instead of Coke bottles. The hard plastic
metal
used to scratch the blades.
Gotcha. Yeah. Oh no, Coke liter bottles. I see. Yeah. I thought you meant like cans.
No, not cans. They do feel nice to cut because they're nice and solid.
The aluminum.
If you shake them up, they've got that pressure in them, and nice and chunky to cut. But they do scratch the sword up.
Yeah.
You can get the proper stuff, the tatami mats, and you soak them in water. And,
okay.
Rolled up newspapers soaked in water. They're very meaty. They're nice to cut.
Yeah, the fibers of the paper get really, I don't know, resistant. They get swollen, and I kind of know the feeling. I've had to haul things like that around a lot. Wet cardboard. Oh, wet cardboard is annoying, but I feel like that has a similar. If you let it soak long enough, that would have a similar consistency to it. If you get really thin cardboard.
Yeah, so it's a good fun cutting. Used to get my kids around, and we'd have cutting days and axe throwing days, and bring out the crossbows.
Damn, you sound like you have been a very rugged, active man.
Which is probably, especially my younger years, a lot of testosterone-fueled idiocy.
Well, I mean, most people have something like that in their past.
Yeah, that takes a toll. The old injuries come back to haunt you as you get older.
Well, I'm glad I never really did any of that. I've always been very bookwormish, very, reclusive and reserved, I guess. And I'm all right with that, but I do feel like I've not done as much activity as a lot of my friends and other people I knew did. But then at the same time, I haven't really had to pay for it, because other than skating and a few injuries, I've gotten, that way. For the most part, my life hasn't been, I've not gotten piss drunk, or like ruined my life, or gotten some bad injuries or bad accidents, things that I know my friends have gotten, things of that nature. And so, I don't know. I feel like striking that balance and living vicariously through Minecraft has definitely, it hadn't been too bad. I know that
Minecraft is much easier, and I'm enjoying it. The artistic release is
yes, the artistic release.
Mainly.
I feel like I used to do pixel art back, almost 15 years ago now, and that really helped me when I was doing Minecraft stuff. I would, especially with circles and things, I would do it in MS Paint, and from there, that's how I would just design all my stuff. I don't know if I've ever showed you this, or if I've ever shown it off. There is this this big sort of template that I've made. Let me find it real quick. It's from, do I have it in here? No. Yes I do. I have it right here. Let me give it to you. This is how I designed Space Valkyria 3. That was basically the floor template, and I'll put the picture up on screen so everybody else will see it. And yeah, that was all done in MS Paint for pixel, block for block. And that's how I made everything just work out, basically. I got all my measurements to sort of line up. And I guess that's sort of like CAD, but not really. It's not quite the same, obviously. But yeah, that really like that helps to be able to make stuff that you can visually see, and then you can keep track of your progress. You know.
I think Joey was doing some floor designs like really intricate, and he was working them out and something like that first.
Okay, cool.
I'm not sure if he's actually built any of them at this point, but some of them were really cool.
Okay.
I've never actually used anything like that. I usually, I'm either making it up on the spot in game or I'm making it up on the spot in creative, which is obviously easier.
Yeah, I like making stuff up on the spot too. That's most of what the city of Space Valk 3 is. It's just, especially when I was doing
different things, and you solve problems differently if you can't fly around and just replace blocks willy-nilly.
Oh yes, yes. Doing something in survival mode takes far more effort, and a screw up is weeks or months of effort to undo.
But yeah, you come up with some totally different stuff.
Yeah.
Like when I did, because I didn't start using Schematica or building in creative until after Summermelon. Well, actually, I was still at Summermelon. Was Cthulhu was my first attempt.
Okay.
And I hardly used Schematica because I didn't know what I was doing, and I kept walking on blocks that weren't there and falling.
Oh no. Oh yeah.
And I am terrible at this game. I've got to admit that. Absolutely atrocious.
I feel like I've living and breathing on, in the end, constantly living on 2B2T. It really did make me a better player. I'm sorry to hear.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that it may not have. Well, I don't know. If you've gotten better, that's better than where you were. I guess is just what can you do? But yeah.
I mean, I went to Constantium for a while.
Oh, really?
With Slappin'.
Okay.
And we started a base there, and it was no dupes, so it was legit base. The only things he brought in were shulker boxes and endstone, and everything else he built farms for because that was his thing. And so no gaps and stuff like that. And man, I died so many times. I am atrocious. If it wasn't for Slappin' and Juicy constantly grinding out new gear, I would have been naked most of the time.
God, this wasn't like... How could you have lost all of that stuff, though? With like, dying in lava?
I'm a silly old fart who just doesn't pay attention sometimes. Accidentally punching pigmen in...
in the nether. Okay.
And then, of course, to get away from them, I dig down somewhere and straight into lava.
Straight into that lava. Man. Well, I can at least say I'm not that bad.
I am. I still do stupid things, but that's what totems are for. So.
Right. Well, what you should do, I know you're not good at the game, so this may or may not jive with you, but you should try playing a hardcore world of your own.
I have thought about it.
Okay.
It would be hilarious.
It would be.
And I wouldn't last very long.
Well, I mean,
although, like I said, I have gotten better. So
yeah, it isn't so much how long you'd last as what you would eventually learn from having screwed up so much. Maybe you would, I don't know, get actually really good at the game. Who knows?
Yeah, it would be an interesting thing to do. Maybe, I don't know, stream it or something as a very short-term stream.
Yeah, you could do that. I feel like a lot of people...
One stream long.
Oh, well, I mean, you would do multiple worlds, I hope. I wouldn't just, I wouldn't want to, like, do a single thing. I would, try again. You fall off the horse. You try to ride again. Not just give up after one stream. But, yeah, okay, if you really don't want to, try that sort of thing out, yeah, it may not be... May not necessarily be your thing.
Attempt 54.
Oh, man. Well, I guess I'm going to have to put you to shame. I have over 100 episodes on my hardcore world. And I've died. I do it a little differently than your standard hardcore. I don't delete the world once I do. I've made some backups, and I've loaded those backups when I've died, but I've only died like twice. So like, yeah, okay, it's not fully legitimate, I agree, but it's still fun, and I still enjoy playing on that world. And despite that, one was I was invisible making a guardian farm, and the other was I'd aggroed an iron golem, and I crawled under my floor that was infested with spiders, and the spiders were on one side, and they were relentless, and I was very weak, and the iron golem was very mad and was on the other side, and I was sandwiched between two extremes, and it got me. It popped both of my totems like that, and that was the end of it. Well, you live and learn, but that was it. That was really the only like super unfortunate thing.
You die, learn.
Well, I mean, yeah, I still try to not die, but I've made a lot of progress, and I'm proud of not dying more than just twice, you know? Yeah, okay, it's not officially.
One thing about hardcore I don't like is sort of losing everything.
Yes.
Especially if you got further along.
Yes, that is very painful. One of these days I may end up having to do a totally legitimate, absolutely no holds barred, no fast ones, no take backs, none of that. Just whatever I can scrounge together, just make it work.
I think in that case you're probably better off having a plan, right? This is what I'm going for.
Well,
I need to get totems very quickly, and this
totems.
is the way I'm going to do it.
Well, the problem with the totems very quickly is that it's not impossible to get them really quickly. It just you're going to have
dangerous.
to it's dangerous. You're going to have to expose yourself to things that you'd otherwise not. And like the totem farms that are currently around,
they're over the top, aren't they?
They're very over the top, but you're still actually that's a farm that, to my knowledge, is not 100% safe. You can still die very easily because the Vexes, they can spawn in such a way that they get out of the farm and they can attack you. And those little buggers are nasty.
They are, and they're so fast moving, especially
they're unreal.
Like me.
The fact that they can phase through blocks so effortlessly, and you're just kind of stuck, not knowing. You can use the boat trick, and that's about it. And the boat trick is clever, but it's not a one-size-fits-all fix, because like the farms are meant to be run with like strength 2, regen, resistance, stuff that gives you an edge in combat, so that you're not just absolutely destroyed. And early on, raid farms don't have that kind of protection. So, I don't know, you can't really... You could, but you couldn't. You'd have to be very, very clever and quick about how you make it all work. I don't know, you could, though. You could. I would love to see that.
Yeah, you'd have to have a quick getaway scheme.
Something
an
escape
like a drop with water down the bottom. Right, I need to get out. Jump, and get the hell
you're
away.
gone. Well, actually, the one I'm using does have that on my hardcore world. But see, now that I can farm totems, it's just like, whatever. I don't know. I think totems are fine. A lot of people kind of criticize me for using a totem in hardcore at all. And I'm just like, the Iron Golem incident kind of proves that I had 2 totems on me. One in my inventory, one in my hand. And they both got popped like that. Simply because golems just hit so hard.
Yeah.
And you're
still not invulnerable.
Yeah, no, you're not
invincible. It's part of the game. So
it's part of the game. Yeah. And there are people who do hardcore playthroughs without any totems. And I admire that. That's on a level I don't think I'm quite ready to go to. But that maybe one day I could push myself to that. I don't know. It's definitely...
Yeah, or make a goal. I'm going to get to 1,000 days before I start using them. After that, I want to protect my world a bit, so I'll use them.
Right, yeah, I'm not to 1,000, or maybe I'm to 1,000. I should be getting close to there. My hardcore world's already a year old. So, like, it's worth I don't know, maybe starting to measure a lot of the metrics that people tend to measure, like how many days have passed, how many blocks of this or that have you placed, etc., etc. And yeah, I think I should start, putting that sort of stuff in the description of my streams. People have asked that, so I don't know. It's interesting.
Can I ask you something? You're known for your big, your Space Falcon, your big builds, and
yes.
Are there any small builds that you're really happy with? That really giving you pleasure doing?
Oh yes, the very first build on 2B2T that I ever made. Nobody's ever seen it except me. It was an end base. My very first base on 2B2T was an end base. But it was an end base in 2012 in the old end. And that map no longer exists because Housemaster deleted it in rage. Because you've heard the story of Pop Bob's backdoor, right?
Yeah.
So Pop Bob backdoored in a bunch of illegal items and things that shouldn't have reasonably existed, for that period of time. And one of the things they spawned in were end portal frames. Well, House eventually got wind of this and got so mad that this was a thing that he just obliterated the end map in, when was that? June of 2012, I want to say. And I was living there in secret. And so Housemaster literally deleted my first base. And I was homeless. I was absolutely, disheveled. I had no clue what had happened. I logged in one day out of the blue, and I was suffocating in stone. And I was like, oh god, somebody's found us and lava casted my base. What happened? And when I managed to mine out of the stone and get my wits about me. And I free cam around and I'm in the overworld. And I'm just like, I didn't log out in the overworld. What the hell happened? What? Who did this? What? I don't understand. How did that? Turns out, the end was no more. And I went for a good 3 or 4 years without an end base of any kind. And eventually, I got the inkling to make another end base in 2014. We had a temp map then. And I just sort of made a little experimental base. And it wasn't very big, and the temp map only lasted about 2.5 months. And people really didn't take it all that seriously, so there wasn't a whole lot of griefing. And it just was like, yeah, I could do this. And that was kind of the precursor to Space Valkyria, #1. And there was another base at the lands that I made, and people have seen that. That's the spawn build on my fan server. It's the little floating temple. We called it the Sky Temple of Autism. It was quite fun. And that was inspired by, do you remember a group of Minecraft YouTubers from years ago called Mindcrack?
Yeah.
Yes. So okay, good. You're old enough to remember Mindcrack. I was a huge Mindcrack fan until they just sort of, dissolved. And I remember there was a big build by Zisto. And Zisto built this really cool sandstone-looking, almost like a satellite-looking thing. And he built it, and they toured their little world that they were doing when they were resetting their world in 2013. And seeing that build inspired me so much. It ended up making me... I used stone brick instead. And I think quartz was somewhat new still. So I was using quartz and stone brick, and that became the Sky Temple of Autism, which eventually became Space Falcon 1. And it's just... yeah, that first end base was what gave me the idea to really, do something like that. And I'm just so sad I never took as many screenshots of it as I could have. As I should have. And now it is lost to time. As lost to time as can be, I guess.
Yeah,
and so, I just, that's something I was proud of, even though that base was an absolute pigsty. There was nothing of value there whatsoever. But, it really kind of... I don't know, it made me want to do more. And in doing so, it ended up giving birth to something that I would come to be super famous and super well known for. And oh man. I kind of wish I could do it all over again just to experience it.
Yeah, see, at the moment I'm more doing little builds.
You're in the... Okay, yeah, that's how XCC2 is right now. He's like, I don't have it in me to do big stuff anymore. And I guess I can't blame him, because like you have to like have a certain amount of drive to want to do a big scale build, because otherwise you will get bored, you'll burn out, you'll get tired of it. You'll definitely get tired of it.
Yeah.
And
the small builds, you know, you just keep doing small builds and they add up.
It helps.
That's how Incursion was, you know.
Right.
Incursion is just a bunch of smaller builds.
Right. It helps to refresh your fuel tank, if you will. You get that that inkling to create something again, and it helps to, like, you know how they say the best way to cure writer's block is to just write something, just create, just make a story, just do something, and take
the pressure off yourself. And
and
don't care what
with
you write.
builder's block, you know, builder's block, haha. That is the way you keep builder's block from plaguing you. Like, a lot of people have asked me, how do you stave off the, you know, how do you keep having information or ideas to make? And yeah, that's how I find that making something is just the best way to keep up, is to just keep making stuff. And those small builds, they really add up. Like, that's, for the last 2 weeks, that's basically all I've been doing, is making little tiny builds like parks, small little nature-y type things, just little topiaries, fountains, like the works. And it adds up so well. And
it adds atmosphere.
Yeah, and it fills in all the small negative spaces that there's a bajillion negative spaces here and there and everywhere. And I'm just like, without these smaller things, it shows. It really shows. And you heard about the chat reporting thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, who didn't? Well, I was kind of in my own mind, I guess I thought this was worthwhile. It really wasn't. I was like, I'm just not going to use 1.19. And I just thought, you know, yeah, that'll be fine. I'll just not use 1.19. I think it'll be okay. It really doesn't, like, change anything. Like, what Mojang and Microsoft are going to march on however they march on. And I guess you'll either keep up or you won't. And
there are a lot of mods to turn it off now, so it doesn't work. Turban's using one at the moment.
Yeah, that's what we're probably going to have to do some point. If you like what I do, show me some love and subscribe for more.